All right. Welcome, everybody. I am thrilled to be here with y'all. I am Jen Hines. I am a physical therapist turned life coach. After overcoming 20 plus years of burnout and overwhelm in healthcare, I hired a life coach and had such a pivotal transformation that I wanted to become certified myself and help women just like you battle perfectionism, procrastination, people pleasing, self-doubt, overthinking, all of those things that hold us back from all the things that we want in life, right? I want you to think of me as your girl next door, like best friend life coach who always has your back, supports you, lifts you up, and will tell you the hard things that you need to hear in order to level up your life. So I'm happy that you're here. I'm so glad you're here because today we're going to talk about something that I feel like nobody really wants to talk about, but we really need to talk about. And it's something that I've recently been talking to my mastermind ladies about, and it's managing your emotions. Like, why do we lose our SHIT? In other words, let me teach you how to manage your emotion and feel your emotions, because when we tend to push down our emotions and don't feel the feels, it really manifests itself in our body in different ways. So let's get started. Just a little bit. This topic comes up a lot with my clients, especially when they'll come to a coaching call and say, Jen, I just snapped at my kids. I just had this huge fight with my husband. And we start to dive into what caused the fight or them to snap at their children. And usually it is not that specific instance of something their kids did or didn't do, or their husband or spouse or partner did or didn't do. Usually it's a series of events that lead up to us just finally being like, oh my gosh, I can't take anymore. And then we lose it. Okay. So if that sounds like you, stay tuned. I'm going to guide you through this live, and kind of just teach you a few things about how to really manage your emotions. Okay. But we're going to start off in childhood, okay? Because our emotional responses to triggers are patterns that we learned in childhood. We learn these patterns in order to cope for our needs not typically being met as kids, or mirroring what we see the adults in our life doing when they're trying to manage or mismanage their emotions, okay? So our brains start learning to protect us and keep us safe based off our experience as kids. The kid who gets upset, for instance, the kid who gets upset that her grilled cheese is cut wrong is quickly scolded by the stressed out mom for being too picky and entitled. And as that pattern happens over time, as that keeps happening over time, the child starts to learn that her needs and desires aren't important, right? So when you start to think about that, you can see how that leads to a pattern of people pleasing as an adult. On the flip side, the kid who walks into a toy store with her mom to buy her cousin a birthday gift throws a tantrum for not getting what she wants, right? She wants a Lego set. Her mom says, no, we're here to buy your cousin a gift. And the mom that quietly tells her child, yes, it's really hard to not get what you want all the time. And right now you're not going to get the Lego set, but that doesn't mean that you won't get it for your birthday or a special gift later, or for, some moment later in time. And that way you're validating her feelings and letting that child know, yeah, it's really hard to not get what you want. Even as an adult, it's hard for me to not get what I want. So to have her feelings validated, and then also teaching her how to cope and how to handle those in a healthy way. Okay. So I want you to think about your own triggers, what makes you mad? What makes you angry? What makes you want to flip your lid? If you are a mom or parent of teens, enough said, right? We can ask them to do things 20 times and they still might not do it, right? And that's enough to make you want to lose your cool. But when you start to think about those things, pay attention to them, right? And kind of start paying attention as to when was the first time you started feeling that way? And go back as far as you can remember, because typically when you have feelings like that, it often starts from not being heard, not managing those emotions as a child, because again, your brain and your body was trying to cope with something that you weren't necessarily prepared for, or you learned it from a parent or an adult that was important to you, how they manage their emotions. And it's not always in a great way, right? So, and just know that you might not remember the true sense of the story or the memory, but your body might remember how it feels, right? So I was coaching one of my clients yesterday, and she's like, I'm starting to notice that my arms get tingly right before I start to get real anxious. I'm like, that's your body's way of saying, hey, listen to me. I'm starting to get triggered by something that's happening. Let's do something to calm things down. Okay. So start paying attention to how your body feels too. And the great thing is that we can rewire our brains to break these patterns, which is so incredibly cool. One of the things that I learned in a training that I did is that when you start to feel like your body starts to like react in that way, you can just thank it. Thank you, body, for keeping me safe. Thank you for your years of protecting me, right? And just thank your body for feeling that and start paying attention to that. So if you're new to watching my lives and new to my coaching and my social media, just know that I'm typically a balance of some woo-woo and science. Okay, so there might be a little woo-woo and some science to back everything up. One of the sciencey sides of this is the 90-second rule, right? Our emotions will completely go through our body in 90 seconds or less if we let them. But what happens is that we often start to feel uncomfortable, and our bully brain, our inner mean girl who's trying to protect us, tells us you're uncomfortable, you're feeling anxious, you're starting to feel a little weird. Let's pick up our phone and scroll social media. Let's check our email. Let's go grab a bag of chips or some chocolate or, some other type of behavior that's numbing the emotion versus just like feeling it for 90 seconds. Typically, if you let a feeling just process through your body and feel it for 90 seconds, it will move on. But when we start scrolling and numbing and pushing those emotions down and ignoring them, that's when we start to get inflammation in our body, when we start to get aches and pains, when the anxiety starts to build and get worse, okay? So emotional maturity really allows us to accept all of our emotions, even the uglier ones that we don't really want to admit that we have, like anger and shame, and things like that. The fundamental aspect of emotional maturity is really the ability to be aware of and regulate our emotions in order to allow others to express themselves, or just the ability to tolerate our emotions without losing control, right? But just know that perfection is not the goal, right? We are still going to lose our SHIT because we are human and the people in our lives are human, okay? But if this is something that's been bothering you for a while, some of the things I'm going to teach you are going to be helpful, okay? So when I was talking about the 90-second rule, again, just that physiological feeling of the emotions will process and go through your body in a minute and a half, like 90 seconds. They come to an end, then your body wants to kind of return to its safety, like homeostasis is the term that we use. When the stress occurs in our bodies, cortisol spikes and our internal anxiety circuits start going, woo, there's stress out there to be handled, and our nervous system is going to try to bring our body back to balance, okay? This will happen. Your body can bring you back to balance if our minds don't get in the way, okay? So few of us really have the ability to completely control our emotions and to be purely like to completely manage them physiologically. Most of us kind of bring those emotions and those feelings into our mind, like I talked about, right? So that 90 seconds can turn into days of irritability, anger, and even years of holding a grudge and resentment if we don't deal with the emotions, okay? So, but again, the good news is that we can continue to become emotionally mature. We can continue to work on this. We can continue to rewire our brain. We can learn how to process our emotions and move on. The butterflies in your stomach that appeared just before you stepped on stage aren't necessarily stress. They could be a physiological manifestation of excitement, right? And enthusiasm for stepping on the stage. So a few questions that I really want you to start thinking about. I also have a handout that I have that goes along with this presentation with a lot of this summarized for you. So if you're interested in that, just comment below wherever you're watching, or if you're on my email list, just reply to the email handout and I will send it your way. So some of the questions that can help us get a hold of our reactions before we're taken over can include, what can I learn about myself and what happened? What patterns brought me here? How can I embrace this discomfort and grow from it? How can I learn to accept criticism without making it the absolute truth? How can I forgive myself and others? The more we learn and the more we hold ourselves accountable to holding and managing our emotions, the more you're going to grow in your emotional maturity. But you're going to fall off the wagon, right? Because like I said, life happens. There's going to be weeks when you're too tired to do anything. There's going to be illness that comes into your life. There's going to be life throwing you curveballs, and you're going to be more anxious, or you might be more likely to kind of lose your cool, okay? The important thing is to kind of reflect on it, right? If you lose your cool with your kids, what I do is I go take a short walk, take a couple of deep breaths, calm myself down. I come back and apologize for losing my cool because that wasn't the appropriate thing that I did. But then I also talk to them about what they did to help trigger my outburst and how we can work on that moving forward, right? But yelling obviously is really never the answer to you losing your cool because of something that happened outside of that person's control, right? So let's talk about doing the work to develop this emotional maturity. Step one is to really connect with and discover your emotions. And emotions are just events that happen in your body that deals with like hormones, neurotransmitters, sensations, and energies in your body, right? It's a feeling. And each of you have a different way that your body responds to different emotions. Like the same exact thing could happen to me and you, and our bodies feel it differently and we react differently. So I want to encourage you to like make a new daily habit of really connecting with your body. Okay. So there is a meditation. It's called a body connection meditation that comes in the handout that I'm going to give to any of those of you that are interested. But it really just has you take a couple of deep breaths, find a quiet place, and really just kind of scan your body as to what you're feeling and why. It's a very powerful meditation. Again, it's in that handout. If you're interested in that, just comment handout wherever you're watching this. And then there's like an emotional body check-in. So to help you with this, you might want to use like the following words. They're kind of like power affirmations or power thoughts is what I call them, to kind of start working on becoming more emotionally mature. Okay, so today I'm practicing being conscious of my body's changing emotional state. I am grateful for an opportunity to work on becoming more emotionally mature. Today I'm able to connect with my body to help me understand my emotions. Change in this area allows me to feel more connected to my emotional world. Today, I am practicing when I take moments throughout my day to check in with my body's sensation. So those are just some power thoughts to start rewiring your brain to really start focusing on this. So I'm going to wrap up this live by talking to you about two different ways to really help calm your emotions. One of them is soothing activity. One of those is enduring activities. So like when you're going to be in those 90 seconds and you need to feel the feels, we're going to talk about those enduring activities. And again, a lot of these are what I call common sense, but as just what you need, because our innate desire is to be helpful. So if you go to somebody and you just want to talk and have them listen, then tell them that, okay? Because again, if somebody comes to me with a problem, I'm going to want to try to help them because that's what I do, right? But if you just need them to listen, I do this a lot with my husband. If I just need him to listen, because he definitely wants to fix things, right? I just say, honey, I just need you to listen and let me get this out, right? So just do that, because most people in your life are going to want to help you fix it. And if you just need them to listen, just set that expectation. That's actually setting a boundary. Effective communication is the same thing as boundaries. So lastly, I want you to avoid blame and labeling yourself as a bad person who did something bad when you lose your SHIT, and instead kind of reframe it, right? So here's a couple that I love. I'm a good person who lost control of her emotions. I'm a good person who got mad at my partner when I had a bad day. I have a good kid who says they hate me a lot, right? Get good at really repairing and coming from a place of curiosity and compassion for what you need and what happened. So a couple that I've used is, honey, I'm so sorry I yelled. I yelled because I was having a bad day. It was not your fault. It's never your fault when I yell. That's just mom frustrated by her day. I'm sure it didn't feel good to have me yell at you that way. And just like you have feelings, we're helping you learn how to manage. I do too. And I want you to know that I'm working on it as well. Then, like 24 hours later, after I calmed down, I went back to my son and just said, hey, remember when I yelled at you yesterday when you didn't do what I asked you to do? Multiple times. How can we do that better next time? Okay, so I'm engaging him in the conversation and in the result. So, and then just kind of reflect. Like I said, awareness is key. Kind of reflect on what led up to you losing your cool. My client yesterday was telling me how she started feeling the tingling in her hands. And I said, that's your trigger, right? Now, that's your sign that your body needs something. So what happened before that to lead up to you getting that way? And unfortunately, like, she didn't pay attention and she got into a full anxiety and panic attack. But what I'm teaching her through the mastermind and one-on-one coaching is to start recognizing that your body is giving you signs. And at that point, take one of these actions, right? Don't let it get to that point. So I hope that this was beneficial. The last thing that I love to do is kind of make it silly, okay? So if you feel like your temper like is getting ready to take charge, or you're getting ready to get angry, just say, all right, Tantrum Tilly, I want you to go away, right? I don't need you in my life right now. I know it's silly, but when you start to name your emotions something silly as if it's like a toddler, it really helps you shift gears and really quiet that inner mean girl. So I hope that was helpful. If you like this mini session today, again, if you want the handout, comment handout wherever you're watching this. If you're on my newsletter list watching the replay that way, just respond to the email handout and I will give you a handout with the meditation, the questions we talked about, and a lot of the tidbits that I talked about today about managing your emotions. And if you want to continue to become the woman you've always wanted to be, the one who really has her shit together, whose friends are like, wow, what happened to Jane? She used to be a hot mess and now she's really got her life together. That's kind of what I do as a life coach. And I would love to invite you to join me for a free Calm Your Chaos phone call where we just kind of connect, hear what's going on in your life, get clarity on what your next steps could be. So again, if you want the handout, comment handout wherever you're watching this. And I go live in my private Facebook group on wellness and well-being on Facebook, and also on my Instagram every Wednesday at 10:30. So stay tuned for next week's topic.